Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we're going to talk some paranormal in Newfoundland. Yeah, they are so special. They're an hour and a half past the East Coast time. Jen Noseworthy is our guest. We're going to have a blast with her. I was just chatting with her before the show. She's awesome. Not going to lie, she's awesome. And we're going to find out more about the ghosts and hauntings that she deals with. But first, let's get to all of you. We have Tim Mothman and his goatee in the gold medal position. Kitty Caddywhack with a silver. T-Bone, my man, with a bronze medal tonight. Necessary Dialogue, how are you? As we kick off roll call. Race Fan, nice to see you. And Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you cannot talk ghosts without being lubed up. Thank you, Mel, for the lube. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Robert Lamoth, how are you? And Cage Cat, thank you for joining our membership here on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And thank you for coming in tonight. And let's scroll on down to say hello to, let's see here. Frankie B, how are you doing? Nice to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. There's Forrest Louie. And who is next? Well, it is Kathy Evans and Desert Rat, everybody. Glenn John McEnroe is here. He's the pride of Wimbledon, and he'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. The lovely, the talented Deanna Ann, nice to see you here. John Jackson, you're looking lovely and talented as well. Ginger Turtle, nice to see you as we scroll on down on our roll call. Up next, we have Belenia, my man. Ozzy Ange, Olenda, how are you tonight? And who is this? Well, it's Sharon Sunshine, everybody. Operation Shutdown, nice to see you. As we continue with our roll call, Jackie Hall, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. Thomas Rock, nice to see you. As we scroll on down on our roll call, who is next? Who is next? Well, it's Aussie Boss Tiger, everybody. Yeah, down in Australia. Please let me know if I'm alive tomorrow. I'd greatly appreciate it. That way I know I made it another day. Scrolling on down. And who's next? Let's just take a little peek here. It's Integrationing and Algaray over on Twitch. So excited about Newfoundland paranormal stories. He ran 200 miles on the treadmill in 6 hours. The guy was flying, absolutely flying. Philip Miller, welcome to SOR chat. As we scroll on down our roll call, Morgan Wrestling. I know that name. Morgan will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Did you retire? Did you retire? So both of you retired in the last few months. That just rips the heart out. No more SOR bombs. Oh, that hurts. Scrolling on down, Jay Truth, how are you, man? Redneck, nice to see you. And Kitty Caddywhack, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And thank you as well, T-Bone. I see it sitting there. I appreciate your great love and support of what we do here every night, buddy. Thank you very, very much. Phil Funk, How are you? I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to see you. And let's get the radio started. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking ghost stories from the beautiful province of Newfoundland. Jen Noseworthy is going to be here with us. We're in roll call on our YouTube side right now. So let's just get into it as we say hello to Julie Rios. Nice to see you. East Coast Turnaround on X. Thank you for joining us. And let's see here. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Thunderhead and Mr. Cowley, good to have you both here. And we got like 15 seconds, so I'll type in the rest. Don't forget, our store is open. You can get your Roswell shirt, Roswell Balloon Rides. Damn it, it's a good-looking shirt. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show tonight. We are going to get into some paranormal and supernatural from the province of Newfoundland. Yeah, where Titanic sank, but they never mentioned that. Jen Noseworthy is here from Paranormal Newfoundland. We're going to have some fun with her. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Then, right after that, extra small Lee Strauss will be here for the Q&A to round the show out. So let's get right to it. I'm excited about tonight because Jen Noseworthy is known as Jen, not Jen Noseworthy, but just Jen. That's in her bio. She is a retired registered nurse, paranormal investigator from Newfoundland and Labrador. Man, that sounds like an old hockey call out there. Hello, hockey fans across Canada and Newfoundland and Labrador. That's going way back, way back. That's awesome. All right. She is the host and founder of the Paranormal Newfoundland podcast, launched in 2023. PNL has grown into a widely followed platform, entering its 4th season in 2026 with more than 250 radio and YouTube episodes exploring hauntings, supernatural encounters, and regional folklore. Jen has created the global PNL podcast Alumni network and leads much of this news into a lot of strange stories. Because you know what? The East Coast, we always hear about the hauntings in the United States, but Canada also has their own hauntings as well that are weird and strange. Jen Noseworthy, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Hello, everyone. How is all the Spaced Out Radio folks? Where Dave owns the night.
Oh, you're making me blush right now. You are making me blush.
Thanks for joining, y'all. My name is Jen. As he said, I'm a now retired registered nurse. I was born and raised in the good old Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm living in the Newfoundland portion. and I'm from the St. John's area over on East Coast Avalon. And I actually am on the host and founder of PNL, Paranormal NL Podcast, located here in Newfoundland. And we're on our 4th season. We're established in 23. And as you mentioned, we got over 250 episodes on radio and YouTube. And I also created the global PNL Podcast Alumni Network. And I'm the founder and team lead of BOG Team, which was established in 23. It's a boots-on-the-ground BOG team conducting historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland. And PNL joined UPRN, United Public Radio Network, in Season 2, 2024, as 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. And PNL is sponsored by the BOG Team, and you can listen in every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Eastern on UPRN. Check it out at uprnradio.com. But Spaced Out Radio rules, man. Thanks for having me on the show tonight, Dave.
I'm used to seeing you in my chat room.
Yes.
You come in quite a bit. You know, that's late for you because we're broadcasting on the west coast of Canada. You're on the east coast. And a lot of people don't even understand that, you know, especially our United States listeners, that their east coast is 3 hours ahead of me, but you're 4.5 hours ahead.
Oh, I'm out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, as you mentioned, over where the Titanic went down, which is out near the Laurentine Abyss, or over on the Grand Banks of Newfoundland and Labrador. Yep, I'm way out there. You got to get a picture there you can throw up, Dave, for people to see where I'm at. And it's actually right now, almost 2 o'clock. But it's Saturday over here now. And somebody mentioned Newfie. Yes, it's a great endearing name for us folks over here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, I'm a dual citizen. I'm also an American and a Canadian. I worked in the U.S. doing some travel nursing up and down mostly the East Coast for about 25 years in the operation room travel nursing and multiple other RN specialties like Veterans Affairs, civilian. But I came back home about 2017. Now, during all of that time, I experienced a lot of weird and wonderful supernatural and paranormal experiences, which sparked me actually to create, when I came back home to Newfoundland, the PNL podcast, Paranormal NL podcast, Newfoundland and Labrador. So, yeah.
That's
Dave,
awesome.
Tell me about some of the stuff over in British Columbia that you've experienced.
Well, first off, I'm gonna say you're not interviewing me here. I'm interviewing you. People want to hear about you, but I will tell you some stories. I can't do much right now because the winter, the snow, the cold, the wind. We get a lot of wind up here, and it's just I'm waiting. Like I'm itching to get going. I'm itching for spring because I have so much that I want to do at my local museum. That Haunted 108 is going to get going this year. And then at my investigative spot, Flight 21, I just cannot wait to get out there. I mean, I'm just so pumped up about it. And it's like, I've been waiting for this to be happening since November. And I feel, you know, like there's a giant piece of me missing right now. And I just can't wait to get going on this investigation, right? Because there's so much to be going on, and we're just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm just so pumped up for it. And winter,
I love it.
winter will not end here. Just when I think it's over, it's like boom, there it is again.
Boop, there it is. Well, you know, we were talking about weather off here before we got on here, but Newfoundland is one of the foggiest places in the world because of the fact that we're out in the actual Atlantic. We're in Ireland, and, you know, ghosts love to hang out around in shadow areas, and being such a foggy area, it actually helps. And in addition to that, we have the oldest city in North America called St. John's, which actually burned down a couple times in a few great fires, and they built it up again. So that kind of leads to the ghosty mysteries and hauntings around Newfoundland. But on top of that, we've got all kinds of maritime disasters, not just the one that we mentioned earlier, but a lot of other ones. Plus, we have Vikings, Leif Erikson, for example. over in Lansing Meadows. And if he throws the picture up there, you can see on the northern tip, we call it the finger of Newfoundland and Labrador. So yeah, that's kind of a small picture, right? So I can't move my cursor around, but on the other one, the one on the most eastern tip out there, that's where we're at. So yeah, the Vikings are up on Lansing Meadows. If you ever come here, it's a great tourist attraction. There have been a lot of different reportings of different longboats. Of course, they call those boats back in the day Drakkar boats, and it's actually a UNESCO heritage site. So some of the residents there who live there have reported seeing the longboats from the Norsemen arriving in the bay, and they also have heard unfamiliar voices, described hearing voices speaking in a different language that wasn't French and it wasn't English. And they also heard the sound of the oars splashing in the water really late at night.
Oh, wow.
Now, this area, there hasn't been, to my knowledge, any paranormal investigations conducted yet in this area. So I'm hoping to try to get up there around the summertime and conduct an investigation there. There are some lodgings and things like that there. I have interviewed some folks there. For example, in season 3, you can listen to my Viking episode with Gina Hodge Nordhoff. And she has the Norsemen and the Valhalla by the Sea over there. And she's also an author and talks a little bit about the haunted atmosphere there. You know, people can feel it. Like the area around the archaeological site is sometimes associated, like I said, with ghostly figures that people have seen lingering around, which would make sense because they were there, you know, during the early 11th century, I want to say. But yeah, there's a lot of history steeped in that area. And then, of course, that brings us over to another area that a lot of people don't know about. Is an island within an island, and it's called Bell Island. And have you ever heard of Bell Island?
I have heard of Bell Island, yes.
Yeah? What kind of stuff have you heard about Bell Island?
Is that it can be very creepy,
Oh,
especially
indeed.
at night. And people will hear and see things that shouldn't be there.
Yes, I have to actually tell you that was one of the main things that sparked me with creating PNL, Paranormal NL Podcast, is Bell Island. I actually worked there in the emergency room in Bell Island. And I had a lot of really weird, like unexplained stuff happened, like shadow people, poltergeist activity, other kinds of activity that are just completely unexplainable. We have had a lot of people come to Bell Island and actually investigate there. A lot of people don't like him, but I think, you know, he's been into the, shall we say, the paranormal world a while. Mr. Zach Baggins, he was there doing an investigation not too long ago. He did the Destination of the Damned with Haunted Shores there. And actually on our BOG team, there's 2 new members, but Justin Foley and Mitch Hobbs, they were actually in that episode. And you can listen to it on PNL Season 3, Episode 27. But yeah, they actually went there and they investigated a lot of claims that were made there and did capture some evidence, especially over in Dobbins Garden. And I'll talk a little bit about Dobbins Garden too. But another couple people who you probably know from your neck of the woods, Corrine Carey, Leanne Zellenbach, and Kelly Ireland. Do you know
They
those?
live in my town.
Yeah, History's Most Haunted, Haunted Gold Rush, they're actually doing. And yeah, they have a lot of different shows. They're on T&E. They're on a lot of different shows. But they were actually on Season 3, Episode 28. But they came here to Bell Island and investigated. And there was a gentleman, he was on their film crew. Now, I guess I have to put it in the right historical perspective for people who don't know much about Newfoundland and Labrador. Back in the day, especially during World War II, we actually had a lot of, in 1942, Nazi warboats or U-boats. And some of them actually sank a couple of our ships because they were trying to stop the iron ore from getting out to be being used for the war. So actually, we were the only place in North America where the Germans attacked and torpedoed and sank our ships. So
Didn't
Belle
they just
Island,
recently find another U-boat?
yes, in Labrador, in a river up there over by Muskrat Falls, which
Yeah.
is very interesting. I was just reading about it, actually. I think it was on, didn't you post on SOR?
We did post it on the SOR group on Facebook. Yes.
Yeah, Germany was actually the biggest market from Belle Island for all of their, iron ore and stuff like that. And we actually have some medals there. I want to say it's from Captain Rutenberger, who was one of the Nazi German U-boat captains who actually sunk our ships here. And there's an actual letter from Hitler, original, signed there.
Oh, wow.
And you can do tours down in the mine down there. If you haven't done it, if you come to Newfoundland, you got to go down in the mines because it's spooky as F down there. You are going to capture a lot of different things. They do turn the lights off during the tour to give you an example of how dark it was down there. It wasn't just men down there. It was also horses and stuff like that down there. So you do also get some remnants of some animal spirit as well as human spirit down there. There's a lot of mines actually that are closed off that you can't get into. There is a portion of the mine actually where you can go diving down there, and we take divers down there, and they've heard some weird stuff down there too. I've actually had Ocean Quest on. They're the ones who do the diving. Not only do they dive in the mines, but they go down to the boats that were sunk by the U-boats. And they've, heard and seen some strange things down there. Now back to Korean Carrie and Leanne Sellenbach and Kelly Ireland from History's Most Haunted. Now, a lot of the men were pulled up from the ocean when all those explosions happened and those boats were sank and put into some houses there in Belle Island. And a lot of those houses still stand. They went into some of the houses, and actually one of the film crew felt like in the room that they used as a morgue that somebody pushed him when he was in there. And I want to say it was Corinne kept getting the word Henry. Now it's funny because Henry Crane, who I got to give a big shout out to him. He's in Belle Island Tourism there on Belle Island. She got that name several times, but then later she found on a plaque that gentleman was actually one of the men who had passed away there. But now that's just one tiny story amongst multiple stories. Now, when I was working there in the hospital, it was just on the night shift, it was just next level. I mean, you could have things touching you, and a lot of evil stuff, unfortunately. I don't want to get people too afraid or anything like that because the hospital is still in operation.
We got 6 minutes. Give us a story.
Well, when I was in a room, there was a palliative care room, and the patient had passed. But the next day, I think one of the ambulance crew were in there or something. They may have had the TV on. So at the time, there was no security. So the charge nurse, who was the ER nurse, was security. So you had to go around and secure all the doors and windows and everything, especially on the night shift. And, I would turn off all the lights and the TV and stuff. So I was just joking around saying, to the patient who was there before, because I had done postmortem care by myself on that patient because there wasn't anybody to help me. And so I said their name and said, hey, could you turn the TV off for me? And turned it off. I said, oh, can you get the light for me too? Click and turn the light on. Thank you. Walked out of the room. I was like, yep, that happened. But I've had some other stuff where you feel something sit on the bed and see it move down when you're on it. And that's a crazy sensation. Or even stuff like hold your hand or reach out and like touch your face and things like that. And we had another patient who actually used to read cards, and everybody loved him to do it. But one time he was doing it. He was with me in a room that always gave me the heebie-jeebies every time I walked in there. And he just tranced out. And he said, evil. And his face just got really weird. And then he came back. And I said, do you remember what you just said to me? He was like, no, like he completely did not remember what he said. It was really strange. And we've had a lot of other instances happen with like doors, heavy doors slamming open that, you need like two people to get open, just slam open, not even during the wind or anything. Like really weird stuff like that. But another patient saying they see things crawling on the wall, but then of course the nurse kicks in and you think, oh, maybe that patient has a UTI or something, so you check their catheter to make sure everything's okay and all that. But then they were saying, oh, I feel something on the bed. This is during a hot summer, there's no air conditioning. Touch your hand on the bed, it's like an ice bucket, where they said that they see and feel the thing, right? Really weird stuff like that reported by a lot of patients. And I've got a lot of other stories for you about some ghosty stories when we come back.
Oh, that'll be great. I want to hear them. That's for sure. I mean, as a nurse or a former nurse, because you're now retired, you deal with a lot of death. You deal with a lot of sad situations. How haunted are hospitals?
If people only knew. Very, very haunted. Yes.
How haunted?
Well, I had a lot of people come on anonymously, actually, and talk about a particular hospital here in St. John's where security have seen apparitions. Patients have felt and seen apparitions of a nun come up and pinch them. And then the next day, the nurses were all laughing, saying, oh, that's so-and-so, because everybody knew who the ghost was. And a lot of people saying that there was a certain elevator that's haunted, and everybody swears by the same elevator. If you talk to them, that's haunted at that particular hospital. But then there's other hospitals where close to the morgue area, a lot of activity happens around that area, especially for mediums who can sense those things. And apparitions who appear around the morgue area for unclaimed bodies, unfortunately, which is really sad. But yeah, I find that around the hospital, around the morgue area. But some of the hauntings that people see are actually happy ones, because some of them also have babies in the hauntings, which is interesting, especially up on the labor and delivery floors.
Really?
Yeah, and even and that's a common theme throughout a lot of the hospitals, where they see either babies or children or hear the children. Now, of course, on the flip side, some people talk about how that can be actually pretending to be happy stuff, and then of course it being the big D, right? Unfortunately, we do have a lot of strange other malevolent activity that does happen in some areas, like the operation room, or other areas that I guess people are afraid of when they think of. But unfortunately, there are a lot of deaths in those areas.
Right there, because we only have a minute to go before we go to break. But I want to ask you, why don't we talk about this as much? Like, why do a lot of nurses, doctors, administrators, if they all know, why don't they talk about it? Is that a fear? Is it because they need to work there, or it's unprofessional, or you're told not to talk about it?
Well, here's a prime example. We have a lot of bed and breakfasts here in Newfoundland Labrador, and they're haunted AF. They've been investigated and found to be haunted, but they don't want to tell their customers about it because they're afraid the customers are going to run away or they're not going to go there, right? So kind of the same thing with the hospitals, but even more so with tourism, because you don't want to scare away your customers. But I think that they should really envelop it and actually use that as tourism. If it's haunted, embrace it. You're probably going to get more people there because of it, right? And there are a lot of historical houses around Newfoundland and Labrador that are very old and very, very haunted.
And on that note, we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jen Noseworthy, Paranormal Newfoundland. That's our guest tonight. We're going to get into more haunted stories, and we're going to find out what she thinks ghost really is when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Good start, my friend. Good start.
Yes, love it.
I love ghost stories. I do.
I always love looking in the background at all the stuff that you got there. What kind of liquor have you got on your thing? I see a Crown bottle.
This is Alien Tequila.
Alien tequila. Hold it up closer to me. Let me see what that's all about. Oh, wow. That's so cute.
I bought that on my way to Rachel, Nevada.
It's a bottle with an alien on it for the folks on the radio listening.
Oh, they're not. We're on commercial break. They can't.
Commercial break. Can't hear. Okay.
The bottle beside it is a bottle of Night Train. So if you remember the Guns N' Roses song Night Train,
Yes.
that's what the song is named after.
Okay.
And then beside that is a bottle of Abduction whiskey.
Whiskey. Yeah. Love a good whiskey.
And then Dark Matter beer.
Dark Matter beer. Where'd you find that at?
A friend of mine gave it to me when I started the show.
Okay.
And beside that, I have a taped up bottle of Jack Daniels.
Oh, nice.
This is from Corinne, Kelly, and Leanne.
Oh, really?
When they did their Haunted Gold Rush series,
Yeah.
if you remember the barn, they actually shot in the studio here, me interviewing them in that episode.
Nice.
And we went to the barn, and I said, one of the things that you need to do is, if you want to talk to the guy up on the catwalk, is you need to make him an offering so he doesn't attack you of whiskey and cigarettes. So they went and got a pack of cigarettes, left it there for him, and this is the bottle of whiskey.
I love it.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah. That's what I got there.
Yes, I love looking at all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When I redid the studio, I wanted to add a little bar there. The funny part about it is, outside of that bottle of Jack Daniels, none of those are open because I don't drink. I just collect them. So
Yeah, we sometimes, when we support different things that we have here in Newfoundland and Labrador, they had some kind of horror fog fest. That's one of the posters, I think, behind me right there. They had made their own beer. So,
nice.
yeah, we supported making their beer and all that good stuff.
Very cool. Very cool.
Lots of folks popping off in chat.
And we're getting there.
How does that work for gifting to memberships? Because I don't do live a whole lot.
I have no idea. T-Bone just does it at like every episode. He's gifting memberships. I don't know how it works or whatever. It just shows up. T-Bone, maybe you can explain that. I don't know how it works. And what else do I have in here? Well, my hat collection. This here is a carving from one of our listeners.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, Sasquatch
Also
carving.
carved this gnome of me right here.
Of
I've got
you?
another carving of his from the Michael Leger, but I have it in my work office.
Love it.
It's like the Eye of Ra. It's pretty cool. And
This
then-
one up here, I had somebody do a driftwood thing. So what they
Nice.
do is they collect stuff off a beach, and then they make all these different cool Newfoundland
Yes.
driftwood things.
Yeah, those are cool. And what else do I got here? Right here, that is my magic 8-ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you remember everybody had one of them, didn't they?
Yeah, that is my giant orb of soda light. Those are Dirty Filth cartoons right there.
Oh, I gotta give a shout out to Filth. He's coming on soon.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
great.
Yeah, Cryptic Cartoons. He's gonna be on April 21st.
And I got some books, some gnomes and aliens and all sorts of stuff around here.
Love
We got
it.
about 30 seconds. Big thank you tonight to Deanna Ann, Kitty Caddywhack, T-Bone, and Morgan and Steve, otherwise known as Crazy Hot Morgan And I'm not even going to say the other guy's name because from what I heard, he chickened out to fight Alumni Volador. I'm just hearing this. I don't know personally. All right. Alumni Volador hasn't been around in months, so I don't know where the hell he is. Blue Skies, how are you? Nice to see you. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in as we talk some Paranormal Newfoundland with Jen Noseworthy from Paranormal Newfoundland. Good name. Talking Paranormal in Newfoundland with Paranormal Newfoundland. That's good English, Dave. Way to go. All right, here we go. As we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Jen Noseworthy is here hanging out with us as we are hanging on out talking ghost stories of Newfoundland, Canada's easternmost province. Lots of Atlantic Ocean around it. It's where the Titanic sank. I want to ask you right off the bat, Jen, if you don't mind. Have you heard the stories that some people say that on the anniversary of the Titanic sinking, they've seen Titanic still sailing on by?
Yes, I have to tell you now. You want to throw up that picture that's down there? This is a little cartoon picture, but it helps give you a little bit of the vibe of Newfoundland and Labrador. So I've got the Titanic way up there in the background with all the water and the Kraken and all that good stuff. But when it comes to the Titanic, it was very close where it went down. She went down 400 miles off of the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador on the Newfoundland portion over off the Grand Banks. Now, for the folks listening who don't know what the Grand Banks are, we are a fishing island. So Grand Banks is the place where the fish grow. We call it the nursery per se, but that's where she went down. And it was very close to Cape Race, where I'm nearby. So around that time, a lot of people, in fact, hear sounds, if you're on the water, of people screaming, children screaming. Also, some of the music that happened that night with the Titanic can be heard. And this is all happening while you're on another vessel. And especially during the time of when it happened in April, a lot of people hear different things like that. Now, a lot of people also experience, if you're out on the water at night, you can get easily disorientated with our fog, because I mentioned earlier we're the foggiest place in the world. So it easily disorientates you. And you can also hear and you can see orbs out there on the water. And people say that if they look down into the water, you can also see dark apparitions of bodies floating around in that area. Now, I was going to mention about, there was a gentleman way back in the day. His name was Second Officer Leonard Bishop. I'm going to say this happened now in 1977. This was several years after the Titanic sank. He worked on a boat called the SS Winter Haven, and he was given a tour of his ship to a soft-spoken British man. And this guy, Leonard, he later reported that the passenger, he was like unusually attentive to all the details of the ship and stuff. And he thought, this is quite odd. It seems so weird that he knows so much about the ship and asking so particular questions. And then years later, Bishop came across a photograph of Captain Edward Smith of the Titanic, and he immediately recognized the man he had given the tour to. Ooh. And then he mentioned that to the other man who showed him the picture, and the guy was like, dude, can't be him. He said, that is the captain of the Titanic, and he swore up and down that was the guy who he gave the tour to.
Oh, I have goosebumps just going all over me here.
Now, in the top half of the hour, we talked about German U-boats. Here's another interesting story, okay? We're going to tie U-boats with the Titanic. So a German U-boat during World War II was on patrol and spotted what they believed to be a four-funneled RMS, HMT, I think it was Aquatina at the time, and they fired torpedoes at the unidentified ship, but it disappeared like an apparition, like right before their eyes, and they couldn't understand where it went. And this was in the logs. Now, the ship that they thought that they fired at, I think that ship was actually reported down in Australia at the time. So it couldn't be any way that that ship was in that area. And now a lot, the guy Robert Ballard, him and his crew, they found the Titanic, and all they did, like when they found it, they simply marked the location. All they did, like they dropped a submersible down and with some weights, right? And they said, okay, we'll come back and explore the ship fully at a later time. So on the way up, coming up after they dropped that down, a few of the crew members, they could see faces staring back at them through the portholes, but just looking at them with blank eyes. Can you imagine?
How creepy would that be? Like
yeah, like trapped down there for centuries,
Oh my
under
goodness.
all that weight of the water on them. That's scary stuff, right? Yeah, people talk about they hear the cries and the moans of poor people out there, especially on the anniversary. That really upticks it. Now, I mentioned Cape Race earlier because Cape Race was a wireless area that did wireless stuff. So back in the day, they didn't use SOS. They used CQD, come quick, danger, right? So somebody heard that over here in Newfoundland and Labrador and sent out a call. But of course, everybody knows the story that Smith, those people, they got so many different, let's say, warnings that they didn't heed, right? Unfortunately, it was too bad that they didn't do that. Now, that same guy, Robert Ballard, who I mentioned earlier, who discovered the Titanic,
Right.
After he discovered the wreck, he went out on deck, and this was the night that she went down, right? Several years later. I don't know what year it was he discovered it. I think it was in the 70s or something like that. But so roughly around the exact same time when Titanic sank, he went up on the deck, and he swears that he heard the cries and the moans of people in the water. Like, how spooky is that? Yeah, and then unfortunately, if you look up Titanic and like ghost stories, a lot of times, a lot of people only see like ghost adventurers running around the museum, right? But now we have a new museum here in Newfoundland and Labrador because I like to promote tourism, and I actually want to go down and do a little look-see around and do like a little down low investigation there because we have some artifacts there now. We've got one of the chairs. We've got several artifacts there from the Titanic. Now, another museum is over in Nova Scotia, but the one here in Newfoundland was pretty new. So I'd like to kind of go down there and see what's going on over there and, just see if I can get some hits off of the maybe REM pod or something like that.
Right. Up where I live, about 2 hours north of me, there's a town called Quesnel.
Quesnel?
Yes. And they are not only home to Mandy the Haunted Doll, which is one of the top 10 most haunted dolls in the world.
Oh, yes, Mandy. Okay, yeah.
I remember when I was there, this is going back a decade ago, looking around the museum, and I came across this corner, and they actually had artifacts from Titanic there.
It's interesting, Dave, that you just mentioned that because I was going to tie in Bell Island to the Titanic, and here's how. Those in some museums, there's coal that people gave out as souvenirs. Well, some of those pieces of coal that people took. Do you know what the stoker was on the Titanic? They were the people that stoked the boilers, right? They put all the coal in the boilers, and that's what sped up the Titanic with the steam engine. So people who took the coal home were haunted by the stokers. They actually were haunting them.
Wow.
I wouldn't want to be haunted by a stoker, would you?
Oh, no kidding. No kidding.
It's
And
like, yeah, no thanks.
and you know what? I took a number of years ago, I went to Vegas for my pre-divorce party. And I actually
Pre-divorce party. I love it.
I had a pre-divorce party in Vegas. It was fantastic. Me and my two buddies went.
I had that's where we went for our honeymoon. So I had the opposite kind.
But a friend of mine, her daughter and my daughter went to kindergarten together. And
Okay.
from the time her daughter was 2 years old, she would claim that she was reincarnated from the Titanic.
Oh,
And
really?
and the name, so I don't remember the name now, but I actually went and checked the name that she had stated,
Huh.
and she had that name had died on the Titanic as well. So it was kind of weird, because for years she would just talk about the ship. And my friend was somebody, she never had cable. Like, there's no way that a 2-3-year-old would know about
No.
the Titanic,
No.
at that time. And I mean, the young lady is now 27 years old, or going to be 27 years old. So it was just one of those weird things. But I actually did the Titanic exhibit at my pre-divorce party in Las Vegas at the Luxor.
Did you like it? Ooh, at the Luxor. Do you know there's a part of it that's actually haunted there at the Luxor?
Yeah.
I want to say it's the black lady on the staircase, the recreation.
Yes.
Yep. So you saw her.
But I remember asking one of the people, who worked there at the exhibit, said, how haunted is this place? With the exhibit and everything. And one of the stories that this person said was, well, we don't hear it too often, but apparently a couple weeks ago there was a family walking through here, and somebody was telling them all about these pieces. And when they went back to ask the person another question, they were gone.
Oh, okay. So it could have been a passenger or something.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Nice.
But
Okay,
they
that's
actually
cool.
have a piece of the ship in there too.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely be like that's like 9/11. People who have like a lot of the artifacts and stuff could swear that there's something attached to that because it has a certain type of energy in it, right? All those souls who perished, all those type of different disasters. There's another story about the Titanic in relation to Newfoundland. Again, we talked about Cape Brace with the telegraph station, but actually, several years later, they received echoes of the distress call sent, and it was the night after the sinking that they heard echoes of it. And another English guy somewhere had like a ham radio station, and he kept hearing CQD on his too. But this was like 30 years later or something.
So do you think then Titanic is still putting out her rescue signal?
I think so. Because that man who worked in the telegraph area, he stayed almost all the way until she went down. He felt so bad because, the night before that on board their ship, the White Star, that telegraph station, like they weren't part of White Star. So that radiograph thing broke down. So they had this big old pile of papers that Buddy was working on. And he kind of put the distress signal from California, who was nearby, who said they were stuck on the ice, and put it down to the bottom of the deck and didn't even tell the captain, right? So that's the ship that they kept sending flares out to, and nobody answered. Actually, he told them to shut up, get off, because I'm trying to get all my messages out. I think he pissed off Buddy so much that telegraph guy just ignored him and went to bed because they didn't work for White Star and they didn't have to stay up at certain hours, right?
Right.
Strange.
That is just crazy.
Yeah, but we're going to have to go out there on Cape Race in April and see if we can get any evidence of the Titanic or any different, stories that a lot of people talk about. 100%, yeah. So if you ever come to St. John's, look for that kind of stuff.
Has anybody ever photographed Titanic's ghost ship?
No, I want to say no. I don't have any evidence of that. There's a lot of oral history here. That's one of the big things in Newfoundland and Labrador is oral history through the culture. because we do have a lot of outport towns and things like that. So a lot of the culture is oral, brought down through the elders and different people talking about it, right? So, but there are a lot of spectral evidence and things like that people do talk about and see. A lot of other things that we didn't talk about ghost-wise, you had mentioned or asked about the ones in the hospitals and stuff. Now, there's a lot of other ones. If you do go over down here in St. John's, there's a lot downtown at different, you can't actually go 2 steps without bumping into some kind of military ghost downtown, especially
Really?
World War II. Yes. And you'll get them, especially around the times when we have things coming up like Memorial Day and things like that. When we have parades coming up, we actually have now Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And during all that time when they brought him over from the UK, there was a huge uptick in paranormal activity downtown that we did notice when we were down there. On Spirit Box, there was a lot of soldiers coming through, and you can even hear parades and stuff come through on Spirit Box, which we found awesome. So if you are here and you do like investigating, if you just break out your stuff at different historical locations like Signal Hill, or let's say the Four Sisters, like everywhere that we've been historically, we found stuff. And the more older the building is in the area, the more activity you get. And a lot of it. Now, some of it is happy and benevolent, but some of it is downright evil and intelligent, scary intelligent. Like,
Like
you know,
give us an example of that.
like precog intelligence scary. Like Petty Harbor is a fishing village here in Newfoundland Labrador that a lot of people love to come and visit because it's beautiful. There's lots of stuff to see and do there, and there you can go get a feed of fish and chips if everybody knows what that is. That's codfish and chips. That's a very popular meal here. But and there's a place there called Tinker's, which got really good ice cream. But that having been said, there's a lot of different lookouts and stuff there that look out over the water. And of course, we do have a lot of maritime disasters and stuff that happened around these areas. So we like to do impromptu investigations. So we were doing an impromptu one there. And we got a lot of precog stuff that came up. There was this very highly intelligent spirit that called out our names and said, hey, welcome back, knew who we were, knew our names, and wanted us to sing a song. So we said, okay, what are we going to sing? So we pulled up Crocodile Rock. I don't know why we did, but we ended up singing that, and we were all singing it, and we told the ghost said he wanted to go get some ice cream with us. I said, okay, come on, bye, let's go get some ice cream. So we go down, but the store is closed because it's off season. So the ghost was totally pissed off. And we don't know if it was acting like a kid, right? But then later it started getting real, took a turn after the ice cream store wasn't open. It started saying all kinds of like evil stuff to us, right? And then it started talking about witches and things like that. So we said, okay, come on, we're going to go down to another store and get some ice cream. This sounds really stupid, right? So we go over there, and it said to us, I'll show you. You will see, you will hear, listen. So it said, it told us where to go, turn right, turn left. We're like, this is giving us directions exactly where we're going. We knew where we were going, but Spirit Box was telling us where to go. So we get there, and when we get there, guess what's playing on the radio outside the store?
Crocodile Rock.
Crocodile Rock was playing.
That's
and
great.
then right next to the store was this really old church. I'm talking really old, with all these old graveyards outside. Now, my folks were telling me that this place was so old that on one side of the town there was the Anglican church, and on the other side of the town was the Catholic church. And the two parts of the town couldn't mix. So in the car, all of us were mostly Anglican. I don't think there was any Catholics in it. And that side of the town we were on, I think, was the opposite. So maybe it was mad we were over there. But yeah, that was kind of weird. But also, we went back later on during the season when the ice cream store was open. So 2 of the BOG team members went in there, and I stayed out in the car. And I kept getting hits. Like I was doing a little investigation there by myself, had the cat balls, had the dowsing rods, had the spirit box. I had everything going. I had the digital recorder, and it said, "Oh, I'm here next to you. I'm standing next to you. Open the window." And of course, I had to open the window because the car was off and it was hot and it was sunny. It said, "Oh, I'm touching your hair." I was like, "Oh, gross." But then I could feel something touching my hair. And then all of a sudden, I could smell the stinkest, disgustingest smell of garbage. Now, I wasn't around any garbage or anything like that. I had the window down. It was down for a while. I didn't smell any stinky garbage. And then all of a sudden, when it said I'm standing next to you, it was so disgusting. And then it kept talking about, look up in the window, like directly across the street from me was this really old house. And it said 2-story. It said, look up. And it said, she doesn't like visitors. And this was a time during the tourist season when there was a lot of tourists there. And they were making a lot of noise and stuff like that. So these 2 dogs were going absolutely nuts up on their doorstep. And this lady came outside, but in a window next to her, it said, take picture. I said, okay, I'll take a picture. So I took a picture, and then I zoomed in on it. And it looks like a Victorian lady with a hat on up there. I was like, and it kept saying she doesn't like visitors. She doesn't like the noise. I was like, this is interesting, right? But, and then it kept like talking about saying different things, like it knew my name. It said again, yeah, I've seen you here before. I know you. It's just spooky, right? Just give you the heebie-jeebies.
Absolutely.
But now I get a lot of benevolent stuff come through sometimes at different places where we've been and had family come through, especially in our own house. We have a lot of family stuff come through here. We've investigated actually our house before and used I find usually with investigative techniques, I find that when you use the low lighting with say trail cams with night vision, you get the best. Oh my gosh, the amount of orbs were just nuts. And this was during the winter, so there was no bugs, I know that. And it wasn't dust because we just dusted. So it was so many orbs where we're like, we're not doing this no more, because they were intelligent orbs. They were following us and doing like 360 turns and like hovering in front of your face and then turning away. But I don't know if you've ever had different experiences like that, or if you've set up different stuff in your house and found things like that.
I'll tell you where your story sounds very similar is at our Flight 21 investigative site where we were doing Estes method there.
I love Estes. Yeah.
Where, for people who don't know what the Estes method is, you put a blindfold on to take away your ability to see. You put noise canceling headphones on to eliminate what you can hear. And then you just listen for a radio signal, listening for any voices. And Jen, one of the beautiful parts about doing the Estes method where I live, there's no radio signals here.
Okay. Yes. There you go.
You can't sit there and say, oh, well, that's, a repeat of sports talk, or that's a repeat of the top 20 countdown or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of people make that mistake and don't put their devices in airplane mode or get rid of a lot of electronics around the area,
Yeah.
or
Like
try to debunk it.
There's no signal anywhere there. But I mean, the way we have had at one point, one of the spirits there was quite angry with me.
Uh-oh. What did you do wrong, Dave?
I didn't know, but he came at me though. He came at me and he was like, I know you. And I said, oh, how do you know me? In your dreams. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So we're going to play this game.
That's when you got to put down a few grammar rules, right?
Like totally like that. See, now I get to use my sound effects. He's like,
oh God, Dave.
Right.
Yeah, the big D likes to laugh and stuff. We've gotten some really weird, spooky, EVPs and things of creepy laughs and stuff. Have you?
We had a child spirit laugh at us, which was kind of cool. We didn't notice it until we actually put the video on YouTube that you could hear the child laughing at it. But we're through 1 hour. Jen Noseworthy from Paranormal Newfound Land is here. We're going to swap some paranormal stories, take some audience questions. when we return for hour number 2, Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Jen, we're going to put you in the background for a little bit so that way we can take a quick break here, and I'll be back in a couple minutes, okay?
Okay.
In about 5.5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. We will be right back, people. We will be right back. I am back. You can't see me, but I am back. I promise you. I am back. There I am. Let's bring in Jen.
Dave.
There she is.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. All right. Still snowing. Still snowing.
Oh, I don't want any of your snow. Keep it. Do you want some of mine? It's free.
No, I'm good right now.
You can come pick it up on the side of the road for free.
Outside SOR headquarters, it is -3 Celsius, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, supposed to be sunny. Good. Then sunny on Sunday. Good. So in case I have to go catch my son play hockey, I will.
Oh, your son plays hockey?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Playoffs this weekend.
This weekend.
Yep.
Love it. Did you see the Canada versus US on the Olympics?
You had to bring it up. Still hurting.
Well, Matthew's got to be part of it, though, right? And do you know what? The goalie on their team played in Newfoundland for the Ice Caps. Woohoo!
Connor Hellebuck was amazing.
He's so tall.
Yeah. Hold on right there. We got about 30 seconds. Want to say thank you to Kitty Cattywhack, T-Bone, Crazy Hot Morgan, and Deanna Ann for our super chats. Thank you, T-Bone, for gifting a bunch of memberships already tonight. Thank you, H-Cat, for becoming a member as well. We appreciate the love. And we're going to get going here in about 10 seconds. Reminder to all of you, you could shop at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you bring it on out and wear it proudly. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us as we talk paranormal tonight with Jen Noseworthy from Paranormal Newfoundland. And what a great interview so far. If you've missed portions of it, make sure you check out the archives. Hi to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chilgoza. Chilgoza is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest, Jen Noseworthy, hanging on out all the way from St. John's, Newfoundland, pretty close to it. And we are talking ghosts of Newfoundland. And we were talking right before the break about a lot of military ghosts seem to be wandering around the island of Newfoundland.
Yes, indeed, especially from World War I and II. And a lot of maritime folks, right? Because we're so close to the island. There's water everywhere, and there's all kinds of military ghosts here. You know, I got to give a shout out. I didn't do it at the top of the hour, but I got to give a shout out to Sir Brian Bowden from Third Eye Live and Mark Eddy from Where I Met You on his podcast. And I got to give a shout out to Filthy from Cryptid Cartoons, who's coming on P&L April 21st. So shout out to all them, and shout out to Dave's sexy merch. Show it off, Dave. Come on. Show him the balloon.
Which balloon? Oh,
Dave has got a balloon on his shirt with some aliens. Y'all got to check it out. So he was asking me about military ghosts. So I talked a little bit about the military ghosts over on Bell Island. I touched on some of the military ghosts here downtown. Now, there's a lot of other cryptid stuff that we have here besides ghosts. We actually boast the fairy queen, the queen of the fae, and they have the power over all of the fae entities. And it's a shapeshifter. It's very malevolent, and they do like to hang out in the mines. And actually, if you think about it, the iron ore mines, they don't like to be in the mine because iron wars off the fae. So a lot of people will carry red iron ore in their pockets. Now, I was at a ghost investigation one time, and I had a piece of iron ore with me, had it on the table, and my dowsing rods kept pointing at it. And I was thinking, why does it keep pointing over that way? And then I realized, oh, the Bell Island mine, the iron ore. And there was a maritime ghost there talking about stuff, and he kept pointing at the iron ore. And he talked about World War II. So there's so many different ghosts, like you said, about the war, who do come and talk about stuff like that. But when it comes to the shapeshifters, we have a lot of the weird ones, like the Wendigo and things like that, where they take on a lot of different figures and animals. They can trick you and pretend to be a different animal. And for some reason, we kept getting on our spirit box and things like that. Don't go in the woods. The woods are haunted. Shapeshifter. Especially in the area where I live, there's an area called Wine Gap Road. And actually, it's spelled Wind, W-I-N-D, but a lot of the locals call it Wine Gap Road. Now, on that road, there's the Wine Gap Witch. And there's a story of a gentleman who, they were in some sort of a car accident, and they couldn't find one of their people who were in the car with them. And then days later, they found him. He was in the hospital, and he said he was dragged in the woods up over the trees. This is what he remembers. And he thinks it was the Wine Gap Witch who took him. And there's a lot of stories of local folks who in that area, their car breaks down and stops working in a certain area. And there is an area there where there's a pond or a couple different ponds. And they say that she lives in one of those ponds. And if you're a man driving, it's especially dangerous because she likes to trick you and get in your car and try to make you go off of the road. So when you go down that road, there was actually some activity, they say, poltergeist activity that was in a house that burned down around that area. But if you go a little bit further, there's a place called a grotto where Pope John Paul II was there and blessed the fleets. There's a statue there called the Blessing of the Fleets. And I don't know why, but whenever you find good, you're going to find evil, because it is a constant battle, and it is true that there's good and evil in every spot. Now, for some reason, you will find good and evil at a lot of historical churches and church locations. This location, the grotto, is haunted. And I'm not talking a little bit scared. It's very scarily haunted. This place, nobody ever goes. They only go there sometimes for tourism, for people to go and take a look-see, but they don't go in the middle of the night now, mind you, right?
Right.
So sometimes the only time they'll go at night is to light some candles and do a memorial service. Well, we went there the night after they did the memorial service, and everybody had left, and they left the gate open and all the lights on. Well, let me tell you, Spirit was pissed. They wanted us to blow out the lights and close the door. So of course, we didn't do that. We went around with our cameras all up and down the grotto looking around. This was during the winter, and it was really slippery. In fact, some of our team members almost killed themselves going up and down over the stairs going around. But one of our mediums saw something with red eyes over there, and it kept giving us a lot of indication of telling us to leave, get out. SLS had these huge, tall creature things that I couldn't explain it, but creatures. And that night we had really bad nightmares, like worst nightmare I ever had in my life. In fact, my husband told me I woke him up screaming. It was that bad.
Oh my.
But yeah, like really weird. And there's another area down from that. This is on the same road now, mind you. If you keep going down around this road, Wind Gap Road, there's another road called Hickey's Lane. If you go down that road, there's a place like a swimming hole where a lot of people have unfortunately drowned down there. And a lot of times you'll get on Spirit Box, where's my body? Find my body. Oh. And if you go down there and then come back, the spirit follows you and are intelligent. They'll say what your name is. They'll give you blow-by-blow stuff of what's going on in the area. Oh, I didn't tell you about that gate, the gate that we didn't close. We went back to the car, and on the way back to the car, there was not a lick of wind. This gate, this is an iron gate. You know how heavy they are. But this gate was huge, super, super tall. It slammed. I'm talking slammed when we left. We had the horriblest feeling. And the REM pod would just not stop going off. And it told us to F off, go away. I mean, it scared the heck out of us. And then the other time when we were there for a Christmas parade, but one of our friends ran down, had to go to the bathroom and ran down Hickey's Lane and peed and came back. The spirit followed him back to the car and was pissed off because he peed over there. I think he might have peed on an unmarked grave or something.
Oh,
Because it was
no.
really angry. It said, I've been here like 1,000 years. And it started swearing at him and saying something about pee. I said, did you just go over there and pee? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, that makes complete sense now, right? Because it always tells us don't go in the woods because I'm attached to the woods, right? And then it says shapeshifter. I've been here 1,000 years. And so you go further up the road, then it says, I'm a witch. I've been a witch. I've always been a witch. I know you're doing witchcraft. And then it starts rhyming off what's in my purse, blow by blow. I'm like, get out of my purse and get out of the trunk. Because it started talking about what was in the trunk and naming off things that were in the trunk. It gets really weird when the spirits are intelligent, right?
That is rare communication.
Oh, no. And we were close. Okay, you keep going down that road. There's water there. What does water do? It conducts, right? So, and not only that, there's several people who died in this water, okay? Because this is the water where people go swimming and passed away there. So a little ways up, there's a memorial there, a military memorial. And every time we drive past there, I always say, thank you for your service. And I always keep the spirit box on or the digital recorder on. And we got through a military guy said, thank you. He said, he said he was a lieutenant or a captain or something. But how cool is that, right? I love benevolent ghosts, the ones that are happy, that don't scare you. But the ones that do are next level. I had already talked about the Fae. Then we also have the Hag. Now, have you ever had the Hag? Or do you know what it is?
I've heard of the Hags through Barla Ventura, but what's the story that you have with?
No, I got to give a shout out to Shane Mills. He was on P&L podcast on radio season 1. Check him out. And he also does Behind Me Fog Fest. It's a horror film thing that they do. So now they have a whole series on 5TV1. You should be able to get it if you've got Bell, and it's for free. And the Hag is when you go to sleep and it's like somebody, like a witch, ugly old witch sitting on you, and you can't wake up and she's sitting on you and you just can't get away from her. So a lot of people will say, oh, boy, I had the Hag last night, kind of thing. But the strangest thing is when people come to visit Newfoundland and Labrador, they get the Hag who've never heard of it before in their life. And over at that place, Bell Island, I was telling you about, there's one room there that none of the employees would go in because they would swear that the Hag would get you if you went in there, especially if you fell asleep in there or something. And even the patients would say the same thing. They wouldn't fall asleep in there. The Hag will get you if you go in there. And there's a lot of other places over there, like the Ghost of Dobbin's Garden. Now, only in the summertime, in the spring and fall, like not the winter, will the Ghost of the Dobbin's Garden come out. And this goes back again to World War II, where German sailors, they smothered this woman because they came on shore and she saw them and she was going to tell some of the townsfolk that he was there. So, at the time, she was a beautiful young woman. But now, if you're alone, especially if you're a man in the garden, she'll come up and she'll come over and she'll try to smother you because she was murdered in that swamp. And she was wearing a white frock. And what she does is I mentioned earlier, BOG, boots on ground team, but the BOG, I called it BOG because here in Newfoundland and Labrador, there is a lot of bog, which is like a spongy type of grass, like a tundra, that some places is kind of really muddy. So what she does is she smothers you in the bog with her stink of rotting flesh and the corpse and stuff and crawls towards you. And Henry Crane actually talked about that in season 1 and 2 on PNL, where his father experienced it in the 1950s, and he swears by it, and a lot of other men actually had it happen to them. Then there's another story about the white woman who is similar to the hag, but she actually hurts you. Like, she is very malevolent. And there's stories over at the hospital, like written in the notes, where people were actually hurt and scratched by this woman who's supposed to be beautiful. But back then there was no running water back in the day there. So she was actually strangled by a man and threw her in the well. And I think it was over near the Scotia Mine, number 1. And now, like, a lot of the kids will run around and pretend that they're the white woman and dress up like her, right? But what she does is she beats up men and sends them to the hospital. Like, even in the medical notes, it says that the white woman bet me up. And they knew who the murderer was, who murdered her back in 1969. He moved away to Cambridge, Ontario or something. And I think he confessed to her murder on his deathbed. And after he confessed, the white woman stopped running after the men and hurting them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after he confessed it. So, a lot of these ghosts, you think, like, why are they coming back? What are they doing? Well, a lot of them are in purgatory or, have all these weird stuff going on. And they just want to be heard, right? Have their story heard. And a lot of it talks about that, because they'll say to us, more back to the story, back to the story. They keep saying that to you. How about you, Dave? Like, when you've gone on an investigation, do you delve into the history, or just kind of let the ghost tell their story? Or do you kind of
it's a combination of both. So when we're working at the museum, we do tell the history of the buildings, but we try and then get the ghost to come in and chat with us. But we've never been or had that type of communication. I don't consider myself a paranormal investigator. I'm an enthusiast, right? It wasn't until we started doing Flight 21 last year that we actually started getting into amateur investigating. And trust me, it is amateur, totally amateur, but we're learning.
That's right. Thanks, Blue Skies, for the 10. Woohoo! Spaced Out Radio. Y'all subscribe now if you haven't done it already. Because Dave owns the night.
Let's go to a couple of stories, because you mentioned that there are a lot of Wendigo encounters in Newfoundland. For people who don't know what the Wendigo is, I'd love it if you would explain it, number one, and tell us a couple of stories about that.
Have you ever heard, I'm sure everybody has watched Skinwalker Ranch, right? So Wendigo is the type of entity that will shapeshift into whatever you think it wants, or it could be any kind of animal. We have a lot of different animals here in Newfoundland and Labrador. We have the lynx, we have the fox, we have a lot of night creatures. And up on Signal Hill, a lot of people call it the castle. Like when Blake Shelton was here with Gwen Stefani, he was like, hey, I saw y'all's castle up there. It was cool. I was thinking, oh my God. But it wasn't a castle. It was actually a signal tower that they used. They actually put flags up on the tower. So when a ship was coming in, we had cannons, so they would shoot off the cannon to let the city know, hey, there's a ship coming in the harbor or submarine or something. Put the chain across the harbor so the sub or the battleship can't blow us up, right? So when you talk about Wendigo up there, one of our BOG team members saw a shapeshifter up there or some kind of creature, and she, to this day, will not go back up there. And there is something very highly intelligent and evil up there. Now, a lot of people say it's a woman, but it disguises itself because there's always a fox up there. And some people say it's the fox who's actually the woman. Now, there's a lot of history besides the signal tower that's there. Down on the side of the hill on the mountain was a tuberculosis hospital where a lot of people died during the war. And every time you go there, it'll tell you, I had a horrible death. And there's also another area where if people did something wrong back in the day, they would hang you. Well, we have Dead Man's Pond. They would hang you. I think they used to quarter you. I'm not sure. That's just a story. But the story was, after you were hung, they'd throw the body out in Dead Man's Pond. And they say that that pond is attached to the ocean. So the bodies get sucked out in the ocean. Nobody wants to swim a Dead Man's Pond, but a lot of tourists who come here go out and swim in it. And we're like, oh my God, do you see the people out swimming in that? You wouldn't get me near that with a 10-foot pole, a lot of people say, because there's dead bodies in there. Now, this other ghost or entity that's like a Wendigo type of shapeshifter thing is very intelligent. The last time we were there, it was giving me blow by blow of what was going on when 2 BOG team members got up and did a little investigation up around the tower up there. And they came back and I asked them, what were you doing over there? Oh, they said, we were just laughing at some kids who were running around up on the side of the wall, told them to get down because they might fall. Because this lady has been known to push people off the side of the wall. So to me, when I was in the car, it was commenting on the kids running around and things like that. And it was talking about what people were wearing. It was really intelligent. But to me, that fascinates me. Other people, it scares the bejesus out of them. Excuse the language. It scares the hoot out of them because of how intelligent it is. Have you ever dealt with any intelligent Wendigos, Dave?
Well, the only encounter that I have had, I'm not sure if it was a Wendigo or a skinwalker last year, was in the forest at Flight 21 where we started hearing a woman's voice in the forest. Probably it sounded like about 100 yards away from us, saying very monotone, like, help me, I'm over here.
Oh, I hate that. Oh gosh. Did you go over there?
No, hell no. No. I've watched enough David Politis Missing 411 to go there. And if you knew the area, you would realize that you're in the middle of a forest.
Right.
Okay. And there's a lot of things out there that we do know about that are there to hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't want you, whether it's the wolf packs, whether it's the grizzly bears, black bears, moose. There's a resident mountain lion in that area.
Puma. Yeah. You don't want to deal with an angry kitty.
No. And so we started walking down a little trail just to not far because we didn't want to leave base camp, but just to see if the voice would get louder. And it actually moved up towards us. Originally it was like, if you're looking at a clock, if we were at high noon, it was at 4 o'clock. And then it moved over to 3 o'clock, but it also changed. It went from a woman's voice to now a man's voice. Hey, help us. We're over here. Help us.
Oh, that's nasty when it changes his voice like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That's the only time I got really, really uncomfortable there.
Yeah, your flight kind of kicked in. Got the heebie-jeebies.
We didn't leave right away. We stuck around and did a couple more experiments before the voice actually shifted and then went up towards about 11 o'clock from where we were. So it was something that we were not prepared for. And Tim and I actually got the heebie-jeebies and we're like, okay, let's pack up and leave. This is getting a little too ridiculous. And so we just packed up and left. I mean, in the end, no matter what, it comes down to safety first.
That's right. Yeah, especially out in the woods and you don't know what's out there. And why is there so many weird things out in the bloody woods?
I don't know, but I can sure tell you that I can't wait to get back.
Hey, T-Bone, what would consider my greatest Newfie encounter? When it comes to the paranormal, I would have to say a lot of my personal experiences working at hospitals I know we talked and touched about on them before, but it's when it actually happens to you, like when it's tangible with the poltergeist or touchy-feely kind of stuff or things you can't explain, just the supernatural unexplained, you
I'm
know.
going to cut you off right there because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Jen Noseworthy, we have her till the top of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. Paranormal Newfoundland continues.
Woohoo!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay.
Yeah, this is flying by tonight. You're great.
Thanks, Dave. I really don't know what to talk about. I mentioned earlier on the chat when you got up and went to the bathroom or whatever, I said, hey, I got a lot of stories, but I wanted to stick it to the history and the tourism because I really want to promote tourism in Newfoundland. I don't think there's enough paranormal tourism. There needs to be more.
Yep.
There is not one bed and breakfast where you can go and just to a place that says, hey, we're haunted, come on in.
Yep, we're doing the same thing here.
Blue Cruise, thanks, $9.99. You must make a lot during your shows, do you?
Not really.
No.
Some days are better than others.
They probably take a lot of tax out, I'm guessing, if it's Canadian and they're doing this. Are you on StreamYard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use. But, you know, I haven't been on StreamYard a whole long time, so I haven't really monetized yet.
Oh, it's all good. It'll catch up.
Yeah, because I was doing mostly radio. I kind of miss the radio, Dave. Do you miss just doing pure radio?
I miss doing pure radio.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me that when they're on with me when they used to do radio. Yeah.
I would
You could just use your cell phone and chit chat away, right?
no. I really like I have a radio background.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the old school radio, like if I was ever offered a radio contract, I would jump on it in a heartbeat.
Would you?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. It's
Is there any particular station that you're looking to get on?
No, I'm just you know, I'm independent. We got 7 radio stations now and trying to add a couple more. And
Hey, congrats.
pardon me?
Congrats.
Hey, thank you. But I mean, we were if say a big radio corporation came up and said, "Hey, we want to add you into our lineup," I would take that job. I would totally take that job.
Yeah, radio is fun. There's so
Radio-
much stuff that you can do, right?
It is, you know, and like I was saying to my audience yesterday, like if we were on terrestrial radio, let's say on a syndicate, a national syndication,
Mhm.
where I could afford to do this show full time, this show would change. Not that I don't enjoy what we're doing now in our format now, but there are certain things that I would change about it.
What would you
So-
add?
You know, I would put more just a little bit more flavor in there. Like if I was doing it if I was doing it full time, I mean, I would honestly look at maybe pushing it to 4 hours and having 2
Oh, wow.
guests a night, or keep it 3 hours, have 2 guests a night,
Uh-huh.
mixed with a little bit of fun in between. So there is, you know, there's a lot of things that I would like to do with it, but we're just not at that point yet.
Yeah, there's so many different things that you could do, right? Like add in your own music and stuff like that.
Well, I wouldn't have to worry about copyright infringement. That's for sure.
Exactly. That is such a pain in the butt. But
It is.
luckily enough, BOG Team has their own music, so we don't have to worry about that.
I get copyright infringement every show on YouTube.
Do you?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
at every show I have to submit the exact same letter to get the copyright lifted.
Well, you'll have to use some BOG Team music on this show. I don't know if you're able to do that, but you're quite welcome to. It's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our music's good. I have it all set up in here, so.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's already in there, so you just hit the button and way to go.
I don't even hit a button. Like in 45 seconds, it'll fire on its own.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's even better.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Texas hats that you would like. I haven't mentioned much about U.S. stuff, did I?
Just keep it to Newfoundland. We're almost there. We can bring you back on and talk about some other stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if we're going to get much time after, but I'd love to have you on. You had mentioned you've got a new project that you're working on.
Yep. I'll have to talk about that later. I want you to hold on here, okay?
Yep.
Here we go in 5 seconds. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and here we go talking more paranormal from Paranormal Newfoundland, Jen Noseworthy. We're going to bring her on in right now. Jen, what's the scariest story you have had coming out of Newfoundland?
Hello. Yes, Paranormal NL. The scariest story out of Newfoundland. You know, I was working at this place, and it's a very old place. I won't say the name of it, but a lot of, I guess you could call it an insane asylum. And it's very old. It has a lot of history. And, you know, some of the history is really sad when you think about it, because back in the day, a man could actually have his wife committed just for doing like really, you know, not just mental illness, but for like some of the social undesirables were there, the poorhouses, like the elderly, the activists, you know, a lot of people like that, and which is kind of sad. But so there's a lot of suffering at that place, and you could just feel it when you walk in there. A lot of mediums say when they go in there, they can just feel it, the heaviness when you walk in there. And even outside, we did several investigations, and the Big D said himself, and he was quite intelligent there, and scared us away actually twice, and said some things to us that were like very personal and knew us by name. So I actually worked in there, and I've had some people, for example, one of our gentlemen on the BOG team, he's one of our security dudes. He actually worked in there and saw an apparition in there. I had a personal experience in there. They always say, oh, don't whistle in there, because they can't stand it. It's almost like when you go into prison, you're not supposed to whistle, you know, because they really don't like that kind of stuff. But this hospital is still working and still has patients. It's trying to close. But there was an incident there where I was the only one working in a particular office. And there's double locked doors to get in there. You know, it's in kind of really secure place. And so nobody else was in there. It was just me. And when you walk in there, it's like really super creepy. It had like showers and stuff in there, because I guess it must have been like an old ward or something, but it was flipped and turned into offices. And even like on a windowsill, dead birds would show up all the time, which is really gross and unexplainable. But so I was on break one time there, and I was just, you know, minding my own business, looking at some little, I don't know, show about a little bird chirping. He was a real smart bird. And I just felt this presence like behind me, right? But when I came in early that morning to put it perspective into it, there's this certain area over by the refrigerator where in this little alleyway where the fax machine was, and that area was always really, really dark for some reason. I think the lights were broke, but the maintenance dude decided to fix them. So they were fixed the day before. So when I came in that day, I turned the lights on and it was like super bright there, and it was never usually bright in that area. And there's 2 back offices there that were never used and were very, very dark. And if you keep going, at the very end, there was an exit door. When you open the door, it would drop down to nowhere. But of course, you can't open the door because it was locked. Anyway, long story short, so I was sitting down watching this thing. I felt something creep up like behind me. Just, you know how you know somebody's behind you, but I just ignored the feeling. And then all of a sudden the lights went out. I was like, oh, that's strange. And the place went all dark. And then this huge bang. I was like, what the hell was that? And then all the alarms went off. And I was like, okay, this is getting weird. And the alarms were super loud. And the security guard came running in and said, oh my God, he said, this back door flew open. Did you push this open? I was like, no. He couldn't even like barely get it closed himself. He needed almost 2 men to close it. And there was no open windows or anything like that. He couldn't understand it. So he closed it. He got the heebie-jeebies too. He's like, oh, it feels like there's somebody in here. So then he went away. But then it happened again. The lights went out and the door opened. I was like, okay, this is getting a bit too much. So then he came back and he fixed it. But then when he left the next time, I felt something like dig in me, like somebody shanked me or something.
Oh, wow.
And I fell on the floor, and I was on the floor in a ball. I was like, shit, like, excuse the language. I was like, shoo-doo. I was like, what do I do? So I got up, I drove myself to the ER, and they did x-rays and CT. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. But yeah, and like I wouldn't go back in there by myself after that. It was just too weird. Yeah, and then walking up to my car, there was this, I don't know, like going through one of the areas where a bathroom was. There was this huge like bang on the wall, but there was nobody there. It was like it was following me and banging on the wall, but there was nobody there. That's just the sickest feeling when you can, your senses don't match what's going on in your surroundings when it's invisible. I don't like that. And of course, I didn't have my ghost hunting equipment with me. And at that time, I wasn't that heavily into the ghost hunting. This was like, and this is one of the things that actually kind of sparked me into looking into it, because now you can use your SLS, you can use your digital recorder and all that and talk to it and see it, right? But I mean, I didn't have any kind of digital things that I could have used to investigate to see what was there. But after that, I wouldn't go back to that office by myself. I started working from home. And it was hard to explain how weird that is unless it happened to you, like yourself. Have you ever had anything personal like that happen physically?
Oh, I'm not that much of a weirdo. No. I'm teasing. There's been some weird things that have happened over the years. I mean, I've been attacked by spirits. I don't think I've ever been followed, but I don't recall ever taking anything home with me. But there has been some times where you have to be careful. You know, I mean, when you're playing with things that you don't really know what they are,
you have to use protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it is a little bit of an eye opener, that's for sure.
I've gone into some places actually and had some other physical things happen where actually to this day I still have some kind of weird attachment from a certain place that I was investigating at, and every time I go there, I get it kind of sparks up and happens again. And a lot of the team members who were there in that place have had a lot of bad things happen to them. I was definitely attachments. So it's really important to, protect yourself. Some people don't believe in it, but there's several ways that you can, use protection. It doesn't have to be actual sage or Palo Santo, even though that stuff is the best. But, of course, there's prayer and other things. And, it's all about belief and intention. So it has to be something that you believe in while you're doing it for intention. But
absolutely.
Protection is really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
let's
for
get to
sure.
some audience questions here for you, Jen, because there's a few of them. Jose is asking, why is it that much of the time apparitions are seen, they either don't have faces or feet?
Yes, that part is it. Sometimes they don't have enough energy, and a lot of times they'll tell us, "I need more energy." And I'll tell them, don't ever tell a ghost or something to use your energy because they will, and I've had it happen. They drain you. So have them use water. Like tell them, okay, go use this bottle of water, or go over there and use that water, or go over to that car and use the battery in that engine and come back. We've done that, and then they get more power. And then they can do their full-on apparition or whatever it is they're trying to do or talk to you about. I always have a little cat ball, but while we're talking, it hasn't gone off yet tonight, but I've had several episodes where it has gone off depending on what we're talking about and who we're talking to. What do you think, Dave? Why do you think they don't have their face or feet?
I would say it's energetically. They might not know where they are or have the strength to do it. Let's go to T-Bone here. Jen,
T-Bone!
what is your opinion of the Clarenville encounter? And first, for people who may not know, tell us what the Clarenville encounter is.
T-Bone, I don't know what the Clarenville encounter is.
Not a problem.
I am I would say about an hour away from Clarenville. I was there for about a month because I had to live there while I was going through Newfoundland ER training. And I used to go there sometimes for fun, but I don't know about the Clarenville encounter. I've never heard of it. And thank you so much for gifting everybody the Spaced Out Radio memberships.
Yes, we appreciate that. All right. The Clarenville encounter is apparently a UFO sighting that took place in October of 1978. And it's apparently multiple witnesses observed a bright, unusual object in the sky near the harbor. The object was described as circular or disc shape, glowing and moving in ways witnesses felt were not conventional or were not consistent with conventional craft. So the RCMP got involved and the incident was documented, although there was no official explanation. So that would be that one.
There's that one, but there's actually another bigger one. I'm going to go back again to Bell Island. It's called the Bell Island Boom. And William Shatner actually investigated this on one of his show called, is it Weird or something about being weird? That's the name of the show. But he actually did like a whole hour in-depth investigation about it. And it was international. And there's still speculation on what was it that caused it. Most people think it was a UFO. I went into it in some depth on a recent live show with Collie Weber. So you can check out her show if you haven't already listened.
Right on. Let's go to another question here. Let's go to Linda. Have there been any mermaid or mermen stories?
Oh my gosh, lots of mermaid stories, Linda. So we are an island, and of course that comes with a lot of maritime history. Maritime history and mermaids go hand in hand. Now, ours go into the evil aspect of it. We can have, you see the nice little pretty aerial mermaids, but we have what's called sirens. So they look very beautiful. And then the gentlemen on board, the fishermen, look over and they want to touch them. But what they do is they pull them down into the depths of the sea when they get close to them. And they call out to them. Now, a lot of people say that the selkies or the seals are the mermaids who look like beautiful seals, and they could shed their skin and grow legs on land. And that's a very Irish steeped lore and culture, because Newfoundland is a very Irish place. So you'll hear in a lot of the rural areas a lot of Irish history. And you will see a lot of mermaid statues in and around Newfoundland and Labrador, such as bay bulls. They call that bay bulls because there was a lot of walruses over there. We do get a lot of seals that come in every year on the ice floe. So yes, there are a lot of stories of mermaids. And when it comes to mermen, we actually have a funny story of a calendar called the Merbice, where it's a bunch of men dressed up with the tails on a calendar you can get here in Newfoundland, Labrador.
Was that the buys or the boys?
Dubai spy.
Okay.
Now, anybody who knows anything about Newfoundland and Labrador, us Newfies like to make fun of the mainlanders because anything past East Coast Atlantic, that's in the mainland. So Dave is a mainlander, boy.
Dave's definitely a mainlander, that's for sure.
That's
Let's
right.
Let's go to T-Bone here. Jen, have you seen the Clarenville glow in the dark coin from the mint?
No, I've heard about it though, but I haven't seen that one. There's a lot of other coins that we have. We mentioned the hag earlier in the top of the hour. She's on a coin. There's also another Bell Island thing that's on a coin. We've got a lot of scary coins here in Newfoundland and Labrador. If you're a coin expert and love that, but yeah, I think we do have one that glows in the dark. And it's funny because my dad loves to collect those. I should look for that one to get them, T-Bone.
Yeah, I have one of them.
Oh, somebody mentioned dildo. I've got to say that. I know it sounds horrible and everything, but Newfoundland and Labrador, we have a lot of like weird names for out around the bay. So there's this one place called Dildo, and Jimmy Kimmel is the official mayor of Dildo. So if you ever come to Newfoundland and Labrador, go to Dildo. They got Dildo Brewing Company there where you can get a bit of beer. And there's a giant squid sculpture there. And on my logo, you'll see the Kraken is on there because that's a huge culture here in Newfoundland and Labrador is the Kraken and the giant squid. In fact, my grandfather caught a giant squid. He was Captain William Benjamin Scott. Back in the day, he caught one of the huge giant squid. And back in the day, they were quite popular to be caught here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And if you want to see one, you can actually see one at the Rooms Museum here in Newfoundland.
How big is it?
The squid is a part of his leg you can see there. But the squid itself, some of them were big enough to wrap themselves around a boat. There's a story about one just down the road here from me. Down in, was it Portugal Cove, I want to say, that the squid came up out of the water and wrapped itself around a boat. And one of the men on the boat had to grab a huge axe and chop the arm off to get it to let go of the boat. And they've got a piece of that and it came in and that they kept. Now, the one that my grandfather caught, he gave that to research at I think it was back in the 70s, back in the day. We don't know where the squid actually went, but he gave it away to the research. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. That's a popular thing when it comes to marine cryptids are very popular here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this because Newfoundland and Labrador also borders Quebec. And in Quebec, they have a lot of Sasquatch sightings.
Labrador does. Now,
Yeah.
we used to be part of the Appalachian Mountains, and that's why you see some of the Sasquatch and stuff on the go, because we do have a lot of polar bear that come across the ice and that. So Sasquatch, they can walk across the ice too, because we have not only just the icebergs, but we have the bergy bits and stuff that float around out there, and the growlers. They're like, smaller bits that a lot of people use. Actually, a lot of the brewing companies will use it and give it to tourists in their drinks and stuff. But yeah, they can walk across all that and come over. So there's no reason why there wouldn't be any Sasquatch here in Newfoundland or Labrador.
What about the Loup-garou, which is like a dogman werewolf type?
Now, I got to give a shout out to my UPRN co-podcaster, Kat Ward. I'm on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, and she's on right after me at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. And she talks about that because she has a lot of the French aspect in her because she's from, I want to say, Nova Scotia. So that's where that kind of steeps in. There's not a whole lot of lore of that here in Newfoundland that I want to say.
But you got a good moose population, though.
Got a lot of moose and got a lot of fairies, but fae, what we call them, right?
Let's talk about the fae, because in my area where I live in the Caribou region of British Columbia, there are a lot of fairy sightings around here.
Yes, I got to give a shout out to Chucky Danger out there in British Columbia with Countercult Podcast and the Danger Zone. Check him out on Instagram. but he talks a lot about the Fae too, and takes pictures under UV lights of mushrooms and all kinds of different things out. Because you have an aurora, you have like a borealis kind of woods out there, don't you? Special kind of woods.
Yeah, it's a rainforest.
Yeah,
West
yeah.
Coast is all the rainforest.
So you have a lot of specialized different creatures and stuff that live out there in your forest. Now, our forests are more sparse and cold. So that's why you hear a lot of more stories about the shapeshifters and the Wendigo and things like that. I mean, we do get a summer, but it's not very long. Usually our height of summer is in August. So you only see probably a couple months of the summer, and then it starts to get cold again. So we do have some Fae. Of course, they say you can't let people know where the Fae are, because then they'll take you away, especially in the Fae tree circle, right? And you got to carry bread in your pocket so the Fae won't carry you away. There's all kinds of different things that people say that keep in your pocket so the Fae won't carry you away.
Do a lot of people there pay respect to them by having fairy gardens?
Some people have fairy gardens and gnomes and stuff like that, because I talked a little bit about the Irish culture here. And depending on where you are in Newfoundland and Labrador, you'll see a lot more of the Fae stuff there, right? And people asked about, what am I smoking here? No, I got a bit of saging in the background, you might see.
Our radio audience can't see that.
Well, I had some burning.
We have about 3.5 minutes to go before we have to say good night to you. Our guest, Jen Noseworthy from Paranormal Newfoundland.
Paranormal NL. And Newfoundland and Labrador stands for NL. So the name of the is Paranormal NL. PNL. If you're looking for us, check out PNL Podcast. And you'll find us on UPRN every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can find it on uprntalkradio.com and 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf.
When do you start investigating again? Because obviously you're in the heart of winter there.
Oh, yeah. I like to do fun stuff just driving around, but getting out, boots on the ground, is more in the summertime. So we're talking spring comes along. Usually we can't get out until April, because when I say spring, March is still snow. We're up to the wazoo in snow. So it could be April, May until we actually get out boots on the ground, but we do internal investigations at historical places. We've actually got one coming up in March that we're going to go do. And I got to give a shout out to the BOG team. I haven't said everybody on the team. We've got 2 different mediums. We've got Taylor, we've got Jessica, we've got Dan, who does a lot of security stuff and IT, and then we've got Rob, who does a lot of our logos and music. And you can download the music on all music and streaming social media platforms for the BOG team. And then we've got Justin, who's in production. And we've got Mitch, who's also into the metaphysical. And soon we're going to have Gwen Ann, who's also a metaphysical practitioner. So that's the BOG team, Boots on the Ground team. So whenever you see PNL, we've got our own YouTube channel at PNL_BOG. So when you see that and our group, Paranormal NL Podcast and BOG Team, a lot of people say, what's the BOG Team? Well, BOG Team sponsors PNL, and they're the historical investigation team that go around having fun investigating stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show tonight, Dave. It was great to see everybody in your chat and talk with them and talk on Spaced Out Radio. I've listened, and now I can say that I'm an official member of SOR. Woo-hoo.
Nice. I love it. Thank you. We got about a minute to go here. Could you explain or tell our audience where, you mentioned your YouTube channel, but where can people find you and how can they get a hold of you?
So you can find us on our Linktree. If folks know what Linktree is, Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. You can also email at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com. And I want everybody listening to check out our group. I know a lot of people will go to the page, but go to the group. It's Paranormal NL Podcast on the BOG team on Facebook. Check it out. Join us. You're going to love it. Check out the Linktree. Check out all the merch and stuff there on TeePublic and the music. But yeah, if you want to follow us, go to our Linktree, Paranormal NL Podcast. Thanks again, Dave, for having me on the show. I really
It was
appreciated
great,
it
Jen.
tonight.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Coming up next in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Then the extra small man. We call him Lee Strauss around here. He's going to be here as well. And we are having a great night of chatter on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, there we go. Thank
Thanks
you
so
again.
much, Dave. I had fun tonight.
It's been great. It's been absolutely great. And thank you for staying up late for us, okay?
Thanks again. And reach out to me, Dave, on Messenger, please. I
Yep.
know you're not on there a whole lot, and I'll hook you up with your new show on my show.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, Jen, take care.
Okay. Peace out. Thanks, Dave.
Bye. I love her. She's so nice. Typical Newfie. Just beautiful people. All right. Going to be right back, guys. bring you me. There I am. Let's bring in Lee. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man.
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah. I'm coming through. Okay, great.
All right. What have you been up to?
Oh man, just working. This new project's got me running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So seems to happen when you move from one site to another and then start things off.
Give me 2 seconds here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Blue Skies, Blue Cruise, Deanna, Morgan, Deborah Rooney, Kitty, and T-Bone for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. And we're going to kick off hour 3 here. Swamp Dweller will be exactly 3 minutes, Lee. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in as we get ready for Swamp Dweller, as well as extra small Lee Strauss for the Q&A. Hey, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chilgoza. Chilgoza is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. This happened to my roommate and me 2 years ago when we drove into the national forest just outside of our town. We go to a small college in New England, about 3 hours from any major city. For context, the forest has quite a few urban legends, and the local community has many superstitions about being safe while in there, although they go there very often. I had just broken up with my partner, and my roommate could sense that I was feeling down. Finals were just around the corner, so she decided to help me get my mind off things and suggested we go to a nice spot she had found last week and chill and de-stress. So we took a couple of beers and drove down to this secluded forest. Then we left the main asphalt road in the woods. I saw some things that unsettled me. You could see the abandoned houses of a ghost town from higher ground the route was on. And we saw this old doll hanging from a rope on a tree. Creepy stuff, but I didn't give a second thought about driving forward. We got to a clearing, parked our car behind some trees, popped open the back of our SUV, and started talking and playing music. Somewhere around 10 minutes into this, 2 cars appeared from the road and parked in the clearing as well. My friend didn't pay them any attention. Instead, she kept talking, but as I was facing them from where I sat, I couldn't stop seeing what they did. A guy popped out of each car, talked for a few minutes, and then I saw them take out a long object covered in dark plastic bags from the back of one of their cars. This is when I noticed these guys had guns. Not like shotguns, which I often see in this town, but handguns. Then they started lighting the bag on fire. I told my friend to get down, and she turned around and saw them for the first time. Black smoke was rising from the bag, and between trying to keep my head down and steal glances at them, I saw them take out a second object and heard them shoot at it right before they set it on fire. I don't know how long my friend and I were lying there in silence, but it was definitely enough to let that terror sink in and whisper to each of us. I don't know how long my friend and I were actually lying there in silence, but it was definitely enough to let the terror sink in. We tried to whisper to each other how much we loved each other in case this was what we thought it was. At some point, I looked up and saw that they were pointing at our car and saw them walking into the woods, maybe trying to follow our tracks, trying to look for us. Right then, I told my friend to jump into the driver's seat and make a run for it. I shut the back door, and between that and the car starting up, the guys heard it and started running towards us. They then ran towards one of their cars and hopped in. We went over a hill, driving away above what was safe for dirt roads on a hillside, and eventually we lost them. We moved to a neighboring town and roamed to ensure no one was following us before we went back to our dorm. That day, we tried to make fun of the whole situation and got drunk before finally breaking down and crying from knowing we had seen something we were not supposed to. We were terrified of telling anyone, but eventually we did tell the officers on campus, who contacted the police, but we never found or heard anything again.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube. Type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to choose from each and every day and night. And so, moving on from Swampy, let's go to Lee.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
I love your theme song, man. I love your theme song.
Best. It's the best.
It just sets the mood and the tone, and that's why we do it. My friend, it is good to have you on. Extra small Lee Strauss here for the Q&A. And man, it's been a week.
Oh my.
All the big news came out, and you've had a week to kind of filter it through your system. And are you left with more questions and answers right now in the UFO world, Lee?
I feel that I was riding high on this, Dave, for quite a number of days, and I've actually come away with it in the last couple of those days, kind of skeptical if we're ever going to see anything. So, it seems like there's a lot of talk in the background about this stuff even manifesting, like, all the files and whatnot. And I think, they even asked Hillary Clinton about it a 2 days ago in her deposition. And we haven't seen it yet, but we did hear that they asked her some questions about that during the not trials, but during her deposition anyway, about the Epstein files. So who knows what's going to come out of that? But I've been keeping my ear to the ground on this subject. And there's a lot of people, it sounds like, are grumbling and saying, we can't talk about this stuff. It's, it cuts into religion in some ways, and it's not good, and this and that. So I really wonder where this is going and if we're going to hear anything.
Well, you know what? There are so many questions that I have as well, because there are so many different ways this story is now going. I mean, we've seen the conspiracy club led by Anna Paulina Luna, where she's now talking about, let's get to the bodies. Let's get into MK Ultra. Let's get into everything. Let's open the door. And part of me is just like, yes, we're making these topics so mainstream that, it's easy to dismiss. Being an outsider, like you are, like I am, like our audience, it's easy to dismiss all of this as rhetoric, conspiracy theory, and everything in between. But what we are needing to look at is every time one of these politicians, whether you like them or not, or whether you agree with them or not, when they open their mouths to one of these hot button topics that we love in our world, it gives it a little bit more credence and credibility that there is something there. Okay. We know that they tried MK Ultra. There's files on it. We know that there's files on the UFOs. We know there's files on the alien contact. We know that NASA is still getting somehow a free pass on all of this. And, this is where I worry, Lee. If you don't mind me going into a diatribe here for about a minute or two, okay?
All right, bring it.
Because I have a big beef with NASA on this.
Yeah.
I'm very open about that. And I don't understand where you have all of these Congress people and even some senators who are looking into this subject. They talk about the Pentagon. They talk about the military industrial complex. They talk about the branches of the military, yet never do you hear one of them, just one of them, talk about NASA. You know what I'm saying? They never mention NASA. And I am still dumbfounded with all the evidence that is out there, the real evidence, the astronauts talking about it, the test pilots, the recordings of audio, the transcripts of all of the talk about, yes, there is a Santa Claus, okay? And they haven't taken this pure evidence and moved it into the conversation. It doesn't make sense to me, Lee.
Well, that's the thing too, with NASA being, our space agency, and then there's other space agencies, but it seems to me that that's where they would be getting a lot of these files. And like you say, you do not hear about NASA at all. And it's so surprising to me. If we come out of this and get to see some NASA files, I'm going to be, just tickled pink. Okay. As I get tickled pink, but I just don't see it. I think the things we see are military based, investigations and that sort of thing, like we've already seen. And there was recently there was another video that popped out again, or Anna Polunalina was talking about it, releasing some more of this footage that they have, which is fine. We've been seeing this footage for quite a while, but if they can show a craft close up, that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for that, and we're looking for an actual alien or ET. I don't think we're going to see that, because that is shocking, and I think that would upset people. Seeing a craft would be one thing, but actually seeing the biologics and an alien, I think that would upset people greatly.
I don't think people are ready for it. And that is one of the big things that I think, we in this subject, it's easy for us and it's easy for our audience to sit here. Like our audience that is very hyped up about this, is easy for them to sit here and say, we're ready. Give us the aliens, give us the UFOs, tell us where they're from. When's the mothership coming? What about time travel? What about dimensional travel? Give it to us. We're pumped up about this. We are such a small fraction of people who might be ready for it. And I say might, because as much as I'm an experiencer and as much as I want to see all of this happen, I don't personally know if I'm ready for it. But then you take the rest of the population, okay? You take that population and you go ask them, are you ready for ET contact? How would they react?
Well,
how would they react?
I know how we would react. And I can only assume that it would be worse for them. What I mean by we would react, I mean us who have seen them before, right? And knowing how I reacted when I saw them, and how long it has taken me to process that they're there, that they're actually real, and how does that fit into my paradigm, and how do I fit my reality that I grew up with around what I saw. I don't know like you're saying, I don't think people are ready for that. It's a whole nother ball game entirely. It shakes you to the core, right? It's something that you've never seen before. And how does that work? How do you take what you've grown up with and your knowledge and all of a sudden totally destroy it and bring in this thing that we're told doesn't exist? It's not real, but yet it's there staring at you. I don't think people are ready for that. Not at all. I can barely handle it. And if I had to see it again, I would have to relive what I have been through again.
Mm-hmm. I remember, I'm going to make this a little personal here for a second. Okay. I remember that 5-day stretch that I had in April of 2014, where on April 10th, I was in my friend's house and I started getting pulsating shapes on my head. Circle, triangle, and a square. And I raced out with one of my friends to their back field. And that's where I started communicating with the UFO on the ground, where literally, God is my witness, it was turning on its lights on my command. And if that wasn't freaky enough, 5 days later, I met a young lady named Samantha Mowat. I hadn't slept barely in 5 days because I was still tripping out over this UFO close encounter. And Samantha, I met her at about 1:30 in the afternoon. By 1:45, we were out in the back field, and I was showing her where the UFO was, and she takes me into the forest. She goes, let's go into the forest. And 4 dogs followed us into the forest. 2 of my dogs, the farm's dogs, followed us in. And we walk about 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha looks around, has this perplexed look on her face, and she goes, Dave, where's the dogs? All 4 dogs were gone. So, like stupid white people in a horror movie, we keep going. Okay. And we walk another 50, 60 yards into the forest. Samantha jumps up on this tree stump and she goes, Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way and tell me what you see. So I took a deep breath. I turned and looked, and all I could say was, Samantha, what is that? I had some foul language in there as well, but at 2:00 in the afternoon in the middle of a forest, I'm staring at a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there, and I didn't know how to react. And I remember thinking this. Throughout my life, I've had some great parents. I've had great family from my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, okay, my coaches, my teachers. I've had a lot of great influence in my life. But never once did any one of those people tell me, how are you going to react when you see an alien in front of you? Not one person taught me that. It literally was like, Lee, if I'm a complete stranger to you, or let's use it this way, you're a complete stranger to me, and here I am reading my book of life, Dave's book of life, all the rules, the regulations, what's real, what's not, God is good, the devil is bad, everything in this handbook. And then Lee, being the stranger, you walk up to me, you grab that handbook and steal it from me. And I say, give me my handbook. And you're like, what handbook? And then you rip it up right in front of me. I was lost. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. Should I have been scared? Should I have been in awe? And this was even before Samantha starts telepathically talking to the second alien there that I didn't see. And they're inviting us over to come over and see them. And I chickened out. And I begged Samantha to stay with me. Okay, because I think I would have probably had a heart attack. Samantha believes that too. If I would have went over there, probably would have had a heart attack, a jammer, and that would have been it. Okay. We as a society, unless you have had your physical open eye. Now, I'm not talking alien abductions where they take you at night and then a few days later, or maybe the next day, you get a little snippet that something happened. That is completely different than from having a daytime encounter with your own eyes, like somebody coming to your door and knocking on your door. What do? You immediately get your defenses up. Why are you here? Because you definitely don't have a publisher's clearinghouse check with you. People have no clue how they will react if they come out and say they're here.
Yeah.
And that is what scares me because I've done it.
Yeah.
And I don't know even today where if all of a sudden President Trump steps up at the podium and the speech is real that aliens are here, as much as I would be cheering that on, I would be crapping my pants at the same time because life as we know it on this planet immediately changes for every 8 billion of us that live here.
Yep.
And I don't get it. I don't get these people who are acting all tough. Well, I'll walk up to them. I'll go shake a hand. I'll go have a beer with them. Hey, if they harm me, I'll pull my pointy stick out at them and show them how America does things. You know, it's not like that.
No, it's definitely not.
It's scary.
It's scary. It takes over your whole body. That fear, and it's so palatable. It is, you know, and the truth, what you're saying goes even into the Bigfoot world, right? People say, well, you know, I'll run after the Bigfoot with my camera. And I'm like, I don't think you will. You don't know until you're in that situation. And I guarantee you, from a person and people, other abductees, that you're in shock and you're in awe, and fear takes over right away. You don't even have the comprehension to grab your phone and to video that at that moment in time when you're looking in the eyes of something like that. Not to mention, if you do get eye contact with it, you're going to lose yourself. They will have complete control.
I want to ask you, because when you were up here September, August last year, you and Tim James got within about 20 feet of one in the dead of dark.
Yeah, Bigfoot.
Now tell me, I've heard the story. I believe the audience has heard the story as well, if they've heard you and I talk about it, because we've talked about it a lot. I don't care about the story. I want to know, in that moment where you were sitting there, hi, big guy, how you doing? You're trying to communicate with it. What is going through your mind, your body, your emotions as you were trying to be brave in that situation?
You know, at that moment in time, it was like something was telling me not to take another step forward. And of course, I'm going to talk softly to it, right? Because I want it to know that I'm not a threat in any way, shape, or form. It may be able to tell somehow that we weren't a threat, but you know, that extra layer of like, hey, I am not a threat. And so that's why I was talking the way I was, like almost like you would talk to a puppy or a baby or something like that. It's just that very calming, reassuring tone, very like soothing almost, because I knew that I wasn't supposed to take another step forward, or it would leave, or something would happen, right? So yes, there was a lot of fear inside, but I figured that I could help control that fear too in talking that way with myself and with that Bigfoot or with that entity.
I want to ask you more about that when we get back, because fear is something that we're not talking enough about this subject. It's easy to say aliens may be here, but how are you going to react, people? We'll be back.
This is Spaced Out Radio. your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy.
You're absolutely correct, Ben from Oz. Absolutely, sir. Yeah. You know, and we might want to talk about this part too when we get back on, but so many people right now are saying that, well, they're demons and they're the devil and
We'll
it's
get into
negative.
that.
Yeah. Good, because
We will definitely get into that.
yeah, that's a common thing right now, and of course the stigma, it's still strong around the subject, even though it's all out in the news and whatnot. But the stigma is still high. I see it all the time on social media right now.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Oh man. It's been snowing here for like 18 hours straight, dude.
Wow. I wish it was here. We've had some pretty decent weather. The wind has been blowing and our project is up on the top of the hill and that wind is dang cold. But yeah, starting a new project, this area that I'm working in, there's quite a few homeless people around, so we have to be super vigilant.
Make sure your tools are locked up.
Oh yeah, I'm always finding ways to make sure we're safe up there, and our equipment is too.
Big project?
Yeah, it's the biggest one I've done in 20 plus years.
What are you guys building?
It's a huge, like, low income housing project, but it's like a big apartment complex type thing, and there's retail and a subterranean 2 levels down garage. It's a big one. It's a nice size project, something I can actually bite into.
Nice.
7 stories. So
that is a big building.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm definitely excited about it.
Well, that's good.
Almost 3 years I'll be on this one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Take 3 years to build it?
Yeah, this is a big one. It's huge.
How many people will it house?
It'll probably house 300 plus.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big push up here in British Columbia is low income housing. I mean, 20 years ago, we had a government here that just opened up I shouldn't say 20 years ago, probably 10 to 15 years ago, we had a government in at that time that opened up a lot of overseas real estate purchases, especially from China.
Yeah.
And they came in, and the Chinese people who were investors came in and they just bought up everything and skyrocketed the real estate prices to where when I bought my house, I sold it right before the market hit. If I would have held out another, I bought my house for 400 grand, just over 400 grand.
Wow.
Okay. If I would have held out another 8 months, I would have sold my house for about 1.2 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. In 8 months, my house shot up about $800,000. That's how
Wow.
bad it is. So that's why, like, in the lower mainland of BC around Vancouver, a lot of these kids, they can't get houses. They'll never buy a house in that area. And then what happened was, after the pandemic, a bunch of people decided, well, I'm getting out of the craziness of the city. Then they started bidding wars in all the small towns like mine. So the average house up here was like 240,000 when I moved up here. And now it's $500,000.
Yeah.
Hold on, buddy. We are into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. How would you react to aliens? My name is Dave Scott. Let's get right to extra small Lee Strauss, as we're always proud to have him on the Q&A. And Lee, right before the break, we were talking about your experience being about 20 feet away from Sasquatch in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the forest. And we were talking about the fear that you were having. You were trying to fight that fear of everything. How was your stomach feeling at that point?
It was churning, man. Like I said, it was palatable. It's like even my knees were kind of knocking together, right? It was so thick, like, and so strong. It felt like I didn't even want to reach my hand forward. Like, I mean, it was such a, just to keep me there in that spot. It was terrifying, but at the same time, it's like, I want to know, like, and I understand that you're standing there in the dark in front of me. I just, it was exhilarating at the same time, Dave. You know,
I get the rush over it. I
yeah.
totally understand the rush. But, you know, look, I don't want to cause panic or fear. I don't want to be that guy. Okay.
Mhm.
But there is a reality to it. Okay. There's a reality that you watch UFO X, you watch, Reddit. All these people are so internet tough with this subject. Bring on the aliens, bring on the grays, the mantids, the reptilians. You know, where's the humanoids?
Right.
Guys, if they can get here from some unknown place out there in deep outer space, do you not think they are a hell of a lot more capable of things than we are unarmed? Right? Or we are armed? I mean, what about the stories you hear of the grays? Certain grays, they rub their stomach or they rub their hands together, they put their hand out, and it feels like you get hit with a beam right out of Star Trek or Star Wars. Yet people have had accounts of this. And look, I'm not saying aliens are bad. I've always defended the fact that the statistics show that 84% of people who have been taken claim to have had positive extraterrestrial encounters. Only about 10 or 12%, maybe as high as 16%, feel that it has been negative. But it still doesn't, when you look at social media, Reddit, X, Facebook, where you have all these people being internet tough online saying, well, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to react. You're going to be hiding under a kitchen table in case one of them walks past your window. Right?
Yes.
It's scary. It is a scary thought because humans do not like anything different than what they are used to. You pull somebody out of the jungles of Brazil, and if you put them in downtown Manhattan, how is that person going to react? They are going to be so scared, they're going to find the first garbage bin, and they're going to jump in there and hide until people go away. Or if you take me or you or any of our audience members and you drop us off alone in the middle of the Vietnamese jungle or the Brazilian jungle, we're not going to know what we're going to do. We don't know. We're right out of our environment. We don't know the animals. We don't know what's poisonous. We don't know what's not. We have nothing to eat. We don't know what to do. And by the way, don't drink the water. So how are we going to react when all of a sudden aliens are announced, if they are? We're not ready.
Right. I do realize it's different. Like seeing something on TV, when you can put yourself back from it, is easier. But I'm going to tell you, just looking into their eyes, and I even think it would happen. It would come across on TV or a computer. If you actually had a video of one looking at the camera, I think you would feel it. You know what I mean? It would be tangible, that realization that you're looking at something you've never seen before. And it is so much smarter than anyone that we have here on the planet. I mean, it's so frightening to look at something you do not understand, that you do not have a place for in your mind.
I agree. And it's one of those things, man, to use an old cliche, be careful what you wish for. Because everybody is coming out. Here's the thing that I found very funny in watching a lot of these newscasts, these stories, and people on X. It's funny how many people are coming out of the woodwork as an expert on this subject now. Right?
Yeah. This seems to be the thing right now. There's so many people just showing up out of nowhere. But they're not talking about what we're talking about right now. They're saying, yeah, we saw a UFO, or I've seen one, 5 or 6 times, and I've read these documents and I've seen video, or I've seen, photographic evidence or whatever. But to be in the place where one of these things comes through your wall, or you wake up and you are on board and one is staring at you, or you turn over in your bed and one is this far away from your face. I mean, that's a whole nother level of fear that abductees have to deal with. Now, they're going to relive their fear or their experience when they see one on camera. Dave, you're really blurry right now. What has happened with your camera?
I don't know. You keep talking because this is radio time. So
yeah. All right. But anyway, so I'm trying to tell you guys that experience, when it does come out and when they do start talking about it, is one thing, but when you actually see the creature is another one. And so maybe because of that, because they know what the fear is like, that they won't show that, Dave. I think they'll just keep it to just UFOs and not the biologics, because I do believe they don't want to scare the public in that way.
And that's the whole point of it. And I think that's what we're seeing now, even though the conspiracy club is all hot to trot over the information, and many others are as well. I think, not to use a Pam Bondi term about the Epstein files, but, if this gets out, it could really end society as we know it. Like what she said about if we arrest everybody, society will collapse. Well, I think disclosure of aliens being here could do the exact same thing. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You give up Epstein for aliens, or do you give up aliens for Epstein?
Well, we've said this many, many times. It's about controlling the narrative, right? So they're not going to let society go down that road. They will control what they say, and they will control what files come out.
How would you bring it out, Lee?
You know what I would do? This is most likely what's going to happen is they're going to come out and say, okay, so it's going to be a press conference. We're going to go ahead and talk about this. Pam Bondi and probably a couple other people up on stage around Trump, right? And he'll say, well, guess what? Aliens are real. They've been here for a long time. And there's doesn't seem to be any threat from them whatsoever. And then, of course, you'd bring everybody up to talk about it. And then, back to Trump. And as of today, you can find these files on such and such.gov. Right. And so everybody's going to run over there and start going through the files. That's how I think it's going to go down, if it does. And most likely, like I was saying, there will be no biologic pictures of ETs, just their craft and what the crafts are doing in the skies.
This is what I think is going to happen. And I think you brought up a very logical point, and I'm going to bring up hopefully something just as logical. I think there's two ways that we do this. Considering they have separated now UAP from UFO, and the only ones who haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet are the so-called stars of UApology that we see on all the popular podcasts and all the radio show or all the the videos of the news and everything, and I like a lot of those people. Jeremy Corbell has treated me well. Okay, Chris Ramsey, and the time I chatted with him, treated me well. Okay, but we see all these UAPers who are concentrated on the UAP, but they haven't mentioned that UAP has been now separated from UFO in the conversation. And Lee, we took heat for that from people. We lost audience members in our social media side because they thought we were just focusing too much on semantics rather than the real topics at hand. Guess what? We were right. We were right. And yes, I have been saying that a lot this past week, but I will continue to pat our backs here at Spaced Out Radio that we never fell for it. And I think that's how the government gets out of this in one of two ways. Number one, we're going to see what some of these UAP are. I think we're going to see drones, reports of that was drones. This is a type of drones. It was run by the Department of Energy or by the Department of Defense or the Department of War or whatever it's called now. We're going to see more UAP announced. That way you can hide the aliens and the UFOs. Or the theory that I really love is I think what could happen is they say, we found a signal. It comes from a planet in the Goldilocks zone, 46 million light years from Earth or whatever it may be. And we've picked up that signal. We know it's not space noise. We know it's not from meteorites or meteors colliding or asteroids colliding or stars blowing up. We know we got a signal. We are not alone in the universe. It's been proven. I think those are the two only ways that they could get out of this cleanly.
But that doesn't tell us, Dave. It doesn't tell us what we've been seeing for the past 60, 70 years.
That's the point, Lee. That's the point. That's how they end the conversation. You're a smart guy. Okay? Disclosure isn't going to happen because that's why we see the debate. We got people who want to do it and the other people are crying demons.
I can't in my wildest dreams think that's the way it's going to go down, Dave. I just can't. I can't go there with you on this. I really do think it's going to be a press conference and Anna Paulina and some other people with Trump up there on stage talking about it and bringing out some more videos of UAPs and UFOs. And that's how it's going to go down. I don't think they're going to say we've got a signal. It just doesn't, it doesn't answer the questions for people. And it won't.
But
There's
isn't
too
that the
many
point?
people that know.
You don't think that's the point, to make it so boring that people brush this subject back under the rug?
I don't think it'll, unless somehow some people, I don't even know, you know, the companies that run this stuff, all the tech now that are finding or making all that, the tech and the improvements in what we have. And I just don't think this is going to happen that way. I think it's gone too far, and there's more and more people coming out all the time. They can't say that we're just getting a signal. They have to say that they've been here for a long time, because everybody knows about this evidence. There's too much. And it's coming out, and it keeps coming out. They don't have a plug big enough to fill the hole.
That's true. That's true. So what about the people, Lee, who are claiming this is all demons and from the devil, and they're putting the religious connotation on it?
I don't know what to say to those people other than, from my experience, it's not. It has nothing to do with demons. It's another species. And why can't there be millions of other species out there? You know, it's not the exception. It's more like the rule that life is everywhere out there, Dave. We're not the only ones. And it's time for us to wake up to that fact. And it's time for our government to tell us the truth.
I agree. I want that, Lee. But once again, are we prepared for that truth?
Who's to say that ET doesn't know about God and doesn't know about what we are at our core, being a being, you know, inhabiting this body? I mean, that's what I know. That's from my experience with them. I know that we're all the same inside, right? That we all come from the same place. We all come from source, right? Which is God. So there is nothing negative or wrong about that. People have had bad experiences with them. Sure, it has happened to me. Until I dug into my experience with going through therapy, I thought it was a negative experience, and it turned out not to be when I got the full context of what was going on. So,
how do you find comfort in that?
Well, it's comforting because I had, 12 sessions of therapy over it. I know in my core, Dave, that we are something that is inhabiting these bodies, right? We are a life form inhabiting these bodies that we're in. And if that is true, because I feel it at my core, it's like something I know, and I knew before the incident with ETs, right? I saw my stepfather pass away, right? And so I knew it was when he left his body. So if this is the case, and this is what religion has taught us, as well as what I experienced and what I was told or shown in my abduction, that's what gives me the faith that it's real. It's because there's all these different pieces that are telling me the same thing.
Actually, a beautiful answer, man.
Thank you.
It really is. Let's go to Jules here. How do you think the media and governments are going to separate out the true UFO information and the grifter lies and disinformation to educate the public properly, or do you think they'll even try? Lee, you go first because we only got 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. I mean, there's people, that are naysayers, and they're going to continue to be naysayers. It's because they haven't experienced it for themselves. And they'll say, well, this is just another distraction, coming out with this information. This is just another distraction for whatever news stories and, going on at that moment in time. So, and maybe that'll always be the case for those people, that they can't put it into their mind. They can't figure out how to assimilate it in their reality. So that's what they're going to do, is they're going to continue to say, well, it's just fake, and that's their defense mechanism for whatever situation is going on with them and whatever beliefs they have to have for themselves.
I see it as this: the media, and I've said it for years, the mainstream media has no idea how to cover this subject.
Mhm.
They have made fun of this subject and considered it fringe news for so long that they are caught with their pants down, realizing that there is something real about this. They don't know how to cover it. That's why when they talk to people about this subject, the only people they can talk about are their government sources who are into it. There are journalists who are covering it on a great job. Okay. Askapol is doing a fantastic job. Okay. With it. Probably one of the best. Dean Anderson is doing a great job. Okay. There are many others, or D. Johnson, pardon me, are doing great jobs. But if you want the grifters and the lies and the disinfo, go to X. That's where you find this subject so subjugated that you don't know where the truth is anymore. And unfortunately, it's going to continue with that for a long, long time. Lee, big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio for the Q&A. Once again, you are so great. We'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right,
As we say goodnight to Lee, and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic.
It was good. It was really good.
Hard to believe we're through February already.
Yeah, I know it.
Where the hell
Seems like time is just flying by right now. Faster and faster it goes. I wonder if there's a reason for that.
Right?
It's like we're headed towards a black hole or something. And time's speeding up.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy right now. Crazy.
I feel like I just got home from work about a half hour ago.
What's that?
I feel like I just got home from work a half hour ago.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
But yeah, I'm definitely excited for what's coming down the road, my friend. I have high hopes, but I'm still very concerned about what we're going to see, and if it's just all laughed at. I mean, everything that comes out is just a big joke to so many news organizations, and people are so used to hanging their hat on this stuff is a joke.
Yeah.
And for us that know, because they've seen something in the sky that's just not a satellite, not a shooting star, and people that have experienced the up close and personal stuff. I fear, once again, it's just gonna be this thing that is so weighted down by controversy and the stigma, right? So
true.
Dave, if people want to see my videos, they can go to Facebook and check that out on Lee Strauss Facebook. I've got most of my videos up on my page as of recently. So,
well, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that, by the way.
Yeah, I've been pulling them off YouTube and basically putting them up on my page just to get as much attention on it as possible before the disclosure day happens.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good, man. Buddy, I'm gonna get you to stick around for 2 seconds here. I'm
Okay.
gonna sign off because my computer's starting to act a little weird. Thankfully, we made it through the show.
Okay.
But I want to say thank you to everybody for a great week on Spaced Out Radio. You guys made it a lot of fun. Thank you tonight to Kitty, T-Bone, Morgan, Deanna, Debaruni, Blue Skies, and Blue Cruise for the great super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support of this show. Do us a favor, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that bell if you are new. We'd greatly appreciate it. And after the show, tell me what you think. What do you think is going to happen with disclosure? Or what do you think is going to happen? Or what do you think of our guest tonight talking about the ghost of the Titanic? How creepy was that? I want to hear about it. Thank you, everybody. I will be back on Monday. And who will my guest be? Well, let me flip the month here, and I can tell you. My guest will be Katie Elizabeth. We're going to talk about the Lake Champlain monster Champ and other sea monsters. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Lee, stick around for a minute, and we'll see you all on Monday.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.